My ex-wife invited me to her wedding to embarrass me for being poor. My arrival shocked her. I actually felt bad inviting him to the wedding, like handing a homeless man a menu just to watch him read it. That was my wife, my ex-wife, standing in the middle of her own bridal shower. Champagne flute raised, 31 women laughing like she just delivered the punchline of the decade. I wasn't in the room, but I heard every word, because Terry, my younger sister, was catering the event and had the sense to keep her phone in her apron pocket with the voice memo running. My name is Jungle Rohan. I'm 38 years old. I was born in Beaumont, Texas, in a house where the carpet didn't match in every room because my parents bought it in sections whenever they could afford a new piece. My father, Raymond Rohan, was a pipe fitter for 26 years. My mother, Donna, cleaned office buildings on a night shift 3 nights a week, every week, from the time I was 9 until the time I was old enough to beg her to stop. She never fully stopped. To this day, she still goes twice a week, not because she needs the money, but because she said stopping would feel like forgetting where she came from, and she wasn't prepared to do that. I tell you that because it's the only way to understand what Mila's words actually cost her. She wasn't wrong that I was poor when she met me. I was 31, running a one-truck logistics operation out of a rented bay in Beaumont, driving routes myself on weekends, surviving on coffee, and the kind of stubbornness that only children of pipe fitters seem to carry in their blood. We met at a mutual friend's dinner party in Houston. She was from Scottsdale, polished, quick-talking, the kind of beautiful that made you forget to ask the right questions early enough. I didn't ask them. That's on me. We married inside 14 months. I thought I was giving her a foundation. She thought she was waiting for an elevator that never came. The toast she made at that bridal shower, like handing a homeless man a menu just to watch him read it, was not a joke. It was a verdict she'd been composing for years, and she finally found an audience worthy of it. What she didn't know, what nobody in that room knew, was that she had personally addressed and mailed me an invitation to that wedding 3 weeks prior. Handwritten, cream-colored envelope. She'd even drawn a small smile emoji in the corner, like a signature. Like punctuation on a sentence she was certain I couldn't answer. I kept the envelope. I kept everything. I didn't go to her wedding to embarrass her. I went to finish something she started 2 years ago, something that had nothing to do with love, and everything to do with what she thought she knew about a man she never bothered to look at carefully. What was parked outside that venue would answer every question she forgot to ask. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. 3 weeks before the wedding, Dale Whitmore sat across from me in my 4th-floor Houston office and read Mila's legal filing aloud without inflection, the way a doctor reads a bad result. Not to soften it, just to deliver it clean. She was contesting the divorce settlement. Her attorney, Gerald Kramer, was arguing I had misrepresented my financial position during proceedings. She wanted the case reopened. She wanted a recalculation. I let Dale finish reading. Then I asked one question. Did she use Kramer's firm? Dale said yes. I nodded. Then she doesn't know about the Beaumont account. Dale looked up slowly. You sure about that? I was already looking out the window at the Houston skyline, a city that had watched me build something from nothing, quietly, without announcement or applause. Kramer was a good attorney, but good attorneys lose when they build on a foundation their client invented. Mila had told him a story. The story had a number in it. The number was wrong. She never asked the right questions when it mattered. I said, she's not going to start now. Dale closed the folder. Neither of us said anything else. The Beaumont account had a history she didn't know existed. 4 years into marriage. On a Tuesday I still remember with uncomfortable precision, I came home to find Mila on the phone with her mother. She didn't hear me come in. He works in logistics, she said, frustrated. Which means nothing. Which means he loads trucks. I stood in the kitchen doorway for 11 seconds. I counted them. I still can. I didn't say a word. That evening I called my mother. Not to repeat what I'd heard, but to say one specific thing. Mom, I need you to keep those files in the first 3 years. Don't throw anything. Donna said she never threw anything. I know, I said. Just keep them somewhere specific. She paused. Jungle, how bad is it? Not yet, I said, but I want to be ready when it is. That was the night I understood what my father meant when he said preparation isn't pessimism. It's respect for the future. He built his pension contribution by contribution, quietly, while his co-workers spent theirs. He never announced it. I learned distance from Mila that Tuesday. I learned readiness from Raymond Rowan Long before that. Dale Whitmore took my first LLC filing at half his rate when I was 26, walked in with a manila folder and $40 in filing fees and no credit history worth mentioning. He told me later he did it because I reminded him of people who had tried to do things right in a system that made that unnecessarily hard. He'd spent 8 years as a public defender watching exactly those people lose on technicalities. He changed practice areas. He didn't change his instincts. His Beaumont office had no degrees on the walls, just closed case files, stacked horizontally, labeled in his own handwriting. 2 weeks before the hearing, he read one line from Kramer's financial expert aloud. The claim that my Beaumont LLC was established during the marriage, a commingled marital asset. Dale closed the folder. They got the dates wrong, he said quietly. By 14 months. I waited. That's not a mistake, he said. That's a bet they made hoping we wouldn't check. He looked at me directly then. When we walk in there, I need you to do one thing. A pause. Nothing. Let me take the floor apart one board at a time. He picked up his pen. She brought a carpenter's case against a demolition man. I never met Preston Caswell in person. I didn't need to. Terry sent me a photo from the rehearsal dinner. Preston at the head of the table, Mila on his arm, a Rolex catching the candlelight at his cuff. He had the posture of a man who learned confidence before he earned it. The suit was right. The jaw was right. Everything surface level was exactly right. But Dale had asked me to research him, so I did. His commercial real estate portfolio, inherited from his father, was leveraged past any margin a careful person would accept. His centerpiece property, a retail complex in Tempe, had been hemorrhaging tenants for 22 months. His father, who built the portfolio carefully over 30 years, had been dead for 4. Preston had spent those 4 years performing the inheritance rather than protecting it. The Rolex was real. His father gave it to him. His father couldn't see what he'd done with everything else. I set the phone down. Terry texted, "You okay?" I sat with that question longer than I expected. I wasn't angry. That surprised me. What I felt was closer to clarity. The particular stillness of watching someone board the wrong train and choosing not to call out. Then I put on the suit. The morning of the wedding, 6:47 a.m. hotel room, Houston. I stood at the window in my undershirt and polished my shoes the way my father showed me when I was 11, before my uncle's funeral. Cloth, wax, slow, circular pressure until the leather caught the light and held it. A man's shoes say what his mouth doesn't have to. He said that once. I never forgot it. On the nightstand sat an envelope. My mother's handwriting on the front slipped under my door sometime before dawn. I read it once, folded it, slid it into my inside breast pocket. Somewhere across Houston, Mila was in a getting-ready suite surrounded by photographers and champagne. Her maid of honor was pinning her veil. And Mila, I was told, raised her glass and said, "I heard Jungle's coming. Let him. He'll see what he missed and drive home in whatever he drives." The maid of honor laughed with slightly less certainty than Mila noticed. I finished the shoes, held them up once in the window light. My father was right. The work you put in before anyone sees you is the only work that counts. She was about to find out what 4 years of invisible work looked like. The limousine wasn't theater. Dale arranged it through my company account. The only car service available that met his specific instruction: whatever they see first should cost them their composure before we're inside. When I stepped out, 2 of Mila's cousins went quiet mid-sentence. The venue was a leased estate outside Houston. White columns, manicured grounds, the kind of place that photographs beautifully and means nothing. Gerald Kramer was inside working the room, confident because his financial expert's affidavit had landed 2 days prior, and he believed the Beaumont argument was sealed. He hadn't checked the formation dates himself. He trusted his expert. That was the crack in everything he'd built. Dale was already inside, not working the room, seated near the back, reading a single sheet of paper, pencil moving in small, deliberate marks. I checked my watch. 11:48 a.m. The court-ordered mediation, demanded by Mila's team as a condition of reopening proceedings, was scheduled for 1 p.m. in the estate's adjoining legal facility. 72 minutes. Dale once told me a well-built case doesn't need more than 40. I straightened my cuffs and walked inside without hurrying. There was no reason to hurry. We had time to spare. Judge Patricia Wynn was already reading when we entered the conference room. She didn't look up. She finished her page, stacked the documents with both hands, removed her glasses, and only then acknowledged the room. No greeting. Just, I've reviewed the financial disclosure motions. Before Mr. Kramer presents one preliminary question. She looked at his exhibit tab. The commingling argument rests on the assumption that the Beaumont LLC was established during the marriage. Is that the foundation of your claim? Kramer said yes, confidently. Dale didn't look up from his page. On Dale's side of the table sat Donna's accordion folder, original LLC formation documents, time-stamped financial records, and one letter in my mother's handwriting. She had driven 4 hours from Beaumont to deliver it personally. She didn't come inside. She handed it to Dale in the parking lot, squeezed his arm once, and drove back. Mila leaned to Kramer and whispered, "He has nothing." We saw his financials. Kramer nodded. Across the table, Dale turned to the final page of Donna's file, placed one document face down on top, and rested his hand on it. He looked at Judge Wynn, nodded once. Exhibit F, Mila's handwritten invitation, smile emoji in the corner, sat third in his stack. Kramer's presentation was polished, structured, wrong. When he finished, Judge Wynn turned to Dale. Dale stood, placed a face-down document before her, and asked her to read the formation date on the original Beaumont LLC articles of incorporation. She read, "A beat. This predates the marriage by 14 months. She looked at Kramer. "Your expert's foundational date is incorrect. By 14 months. The commingling argument does not hold. The Beaumont account was a premarital asset, properly classified at original proceedings." Kramer asked for a recess. Wynn denied it. She continued through Dale's file, line by line, unhurried, the way a careful person closes doors in a house they're leaving for the last time. I didn't move. Hands flat, eyes forward. Internally, the thing nobody tells you about being right for 4 years is that it doesn't feel like winning. It feels like putting something heavy down that you forgot you were carrying. Then I thought about my mother driving 4 hours with a manila folder alone before sunrise. I had to work very hard to stay seated. Behind me, I heard a chair shift. I didn't turn. I didn't need to. Some things you can hear perfectly well with your eyes forward. Recess, 15 minutes. I found a window in the hallway and stood at it. Same posture as 6:47 that morning. Different weight in my body now. Dale came and stood beside me. Neither of us spoke immediately. Then he said, "Your daddy used to do that." "Do what?" "Stand at a window after something hard. Like the light was the point." I didn't respond right away. He drove a good truck. Dale said quietly, "Never let anyone tell him otherwise." I took the envelope from my inside pocket, my mother's letter, turned it over once, put it back without opening it. Not yet. Through the glass partition across the hall, I could see Mila and Kramer in a closed room. Kramer's body language was explaining something urgent. Mila wasn't absorbing all of it. Then her eyes moved to the window where I stood. She looked at me. I looked back. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us moved. But something passed between us that didn't need words. The particular silence between two people when one of them finally understands what the other one built. I looked away first. Let her finish the math. Back inside, Dale asked Judge Wynn for permission to enter one final exhibit. My mother's letter, submitted as contextual record within the existing discovery package. Kramer objected. Wynn overruled without looking at him. She read 3 sentences aloud. The date Donna helped me open the LLC, the initial deposit amount, and her stated purpose. To make sure my son had something no one could take from him before anyone knew existed. Then Dale laid down 2 additional documents. My premarital tax returns from the Beaumont filing period, and a bank statement showing the original capital deposit, 11 months before I ever met Mila. Kramer's objections got shorter. Then they stopped. Mila's hand, which had been resting flat on the table, moved to her lap, slowly, without her seeming to decide to. My father said once that a person's hands will tell you what their face is trying to hide. He wasn't talking about courtrooms. He was talking about neighbors who owed him money and smiled too easily. He was right about most things. Not because he was brilliant, because he paid attention to what people did when they thought nobody was watching. I learned everything about being ready from a man who polished his shoes before a hard day. Judge when close a mediation in 23 words and 1 signature. Motion denied. Settlement stands. Kramer's team to cover filing costs. 41 minutes. Dale had said 40. He was close. I walked out into the state grounds. Somewhere in the distance, wedding music had started. Strings, faint, carried on the October air like something that belonged to someone else's life. I found a bench near the property's edge and sat down. I took my mother's letter from my pocket. This time I opened it. I didn't read it aloud, even in my own head, except for the last line. You were never the man she described. I was there when you started. I kept the receipts. I folded it carefully, slipped it back. Then I looked down at my shoes, still holding the light, exactly as my father promised. They would if you put the work in before the day began. Mila said she invited me to watch me understand what I'd never have, what she never understood, what she couldn't, was that I didn't build what I built to show anyone. I built it the same way Raymond Rowan polished his shoes, in private, before the morning arrived, when no one was keeping score. She handed me a menu to embarrass me. She didn't know I owned the kitchen.